Welcome to the How to Code Well podcast. My name is Peter Fisher. I'm a freelance web developer and the host and coding teacher at How to Code Well. Before the show starts, I just want to say a massive thank you to all of the Patreon supporters for supporting this channel and the podcast through these difficult times. If you want to be a supporter, please go to patreon.com/howtocodewell. Your support is much appreciated. And of course, never miss an episode. Go to howtocodewell.fm to see the previous episodes. Okay, let's get on with the show. Hello coders and welcome to another How to Code Well podcast. Today we're going to be talking about switching careers from care work to web development. And I have the absolute pleasure of speaking to Emily Wallace Price. Hi Emily, how's it going? Have you had a good week so far?
Hi, yes, had a great week so far. I've got this week as annual leave, as was planning on having the second part of the Easter holidays off with my son. With the lockdown, it's been great, but it's time off and the weather's been nice.
Good. Yeah, the weather has been spectacular recently. It's been brilliant. So
yeah, absolutely.
You used to be a care worker. And I mean, there's loads to pull apart here. Not only were you a care worker, you're now a Laravel developer, you're self-taught, and you've built applications for diabetes detection. So there's an awful lot to unpack here. So let's start from the very beginning. What kind of care work did you do?
Quite a variety. After I left college, where I did a health and social care, NVQ, I went into learning disabilities. So that was usually in a residential setting. Did that until 2006. And then I joined a district nursing team as a healthcare assistant. So I dealt with anything from leg ulcers to palliative care. So providing personal care for people end of life, which was amazing. I know it sounds wrong, but I found it such a privilege to be part of, and the end of someone's life, and particularly being able to reminisce with them. That was always my favourite bit, was getting them to reminisce and having that quiet time with me. It was very special.
Yeah. Yes, because that's a very unique position that you would have. Wow. And a very emotional position too. Yeah, certainly the first couple I looked after, it was quite a but yeah, I think taking on that mindset certainly helped. Sort of turned the oh my gosh, sort of emotion to like, I feel good about this, and I'm giving that person some time. So yeah. Excellent. And can you just say again how long you did that for?
Must have been about 10 years.
Wow.
All in all. 10. So yeah.
Crikey. Okay, so you're a care worker for 10 years. Am I correct in assuming that was a profession that you've always wanted to do from a child?
Yeah, pretty much. I was always I've got type 1 diabetes, so I've always had sort of healthcare professionals around me and everything. So I really sort of felt that I could give, on that level. So yeah, it certainly felt it was something I would be good at.
Gosh. Apart from the time that you were able to give, what were the other things that you enjoyed about care work?
Just meeting such a random scope of people.
Yeah.
I would look after 90-year-olds that were still full of life, and you'll be like, please just slow down, and then you would have the real battle axes who would be determined to make life really difficult. And those were the challenges where I'd like to, break them down and make them smile. And those were the most rewarding.
Wonderful. Right. Gosh. So how did you transition? What was the decision process? Can you talk me through that? between changing from a care worker to development? Because that is very different.
Absolutely. And a lot of people say that to me. It actually wasn't my choice.
Right.
Due to my type 1 diabetes, unfortunately, I had a couple of seizures, which led to me losing my hyper-awareness. So I couldn't tell when my blood sugars were dropping.
Right.
Which in turn meant I lost my driving license.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, doing care work, you need to be mobile. So I then was redeployed into a office-based job, and everything, which was different.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't what I wanted, because I was used to being active and being a patient. But I then started working with the community manager on manipulating spreadsheets and data.
Mm-hmm.
So particularly at this time when I was working with them, we were getting an awful lot of patients discharged from hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't have enough staff hours to be able to. So I helped build a spreadsheet which would then do an alert system. So we would have X amount of units of staffing working hours, and then do the same for the patient units.
Mm-hmm.
So it was quite nice being able to build this report. So every day it could go off to hospital discharge and say, look, we haven't got the capacity to take without endangering, the patients we have. So that's how I started.
So that was an office role within the care sector, right? Is that right?
Yes, still within district nursing.
Yeah.
So,
and you were creating an alert system in a spreadsheet. So am I right in thinking that there was an element of formula? I can't say it. Formula.
Yeah.
I can't say it. Formula. I'm not even going to attempt to say it. Creating of formulas.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. And certainly for someone who, I'm rubbish at maths, I had to redo my GCSEs quite a few times. So it's been quite interesting,
right.
Then doing that and using that kind of side of my brain was interesting.
Right. And with those equations and formulas, you would get a sense of creating variables and assigning data to data sets and that kind of thing, I would imagine.
Yeah, that's it. And I made it quite simple for if I wasn't around and other people had to use it, it would literally flash up a colour. So green for everything's great, we can take more patients, and then amber, red, and then black was like, oh my God, no way.
Right.
So yeah, it was quite a fun little system to sort of build.
And would you say that was the first sort of stepping stone into the wonderful world of development?
Yeah, I think so. I then sort of did a few little sort of building of database systems for like allocation of work and everything. But yeah, sort of doing those sorts of things were quite fun.
Right. Yeah.
So it then sort of, unfortunately, my job then, our service went into consultation. So everybody had to reapply for their jobs. And unfortunately, I was going through quite a few health challenges at the time. So when it came to my interview, I did horrendous. So I wasn't offered another job again. So at the time, it was like, right, let's, I'll leave work and just focus on my health and then have my little boy. And it was only when he turned about 2, my brother and I met up and we went for a walk on the forest, and I was like, I don't know what to do sort of career wise, because I want to get back out working when Lewis starts school, because I've always been a worker. So for not working for, 7 years in total, it was a real sort of, what can I do, especially with not being able to drive at the time. And he said, oh, well, why don't you learn to do code? And I was like, no, don't be silly. I'm not clever enough to do anything like that. And yeah, that's when he sort of said, oh, well, you've done all the spreadsheet work. And my brother's a developer, so hence why he felt it was appropriate for me. And he goes, why don't you look on Udemy for courses and, because they're nice and cheap, and just see how you feel about it.
Wow.
So it went from there.
That's fantastic. That is such an inspiring story. So your brother obviously knew what you were doing with spreadsheets and pointed you in the direction of code. I mean, that for another developer to say that, especially to a family member, because there's a lot riding on that. That's brilliant. To have a developer that close to you is also really good, from a mentoring point of view.
Oh God, yeah, I bug him all the time. I'm like, I'm stuck. Particularly when I was learning, I was having so many questions, which you can't always get answered from the course and everything. And it takes some.
Do you mind if I probe into the timeline? So you did the care work for 10 years, and then am I right in thinking that you were off for 7?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I started doing my studying about 3 years ago now.
Right.
Alongside bringing Lewis up.
Yeah. And so you started studying 3 years ago, and when did you become a developer? I mean,
probably.
let me just say to anybody who's listening to this, you're a developer when you code, regardless of what skill level you are. But in terms of getting into the industry, I should have said, when.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I got my first job with an agency September last year.
Oh,
so
wow.
Yeah, I've actually only been an employed developer. Just about 6 months.
Yay! So that's so cool. You're nearly coming up to the 1 year birthday.
Yeah.
The end of this summer. Wonderful. Oh, brilliant. That's great. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about those Udemy courses. What kind of courses did you look at first?
First, I just looked at the, PHP courses. Sort of doing PHP on the command line, and everything. Which at the time I was like, I get it, but I can't quite get how it all fits together. So I thought, right, well, I'll do a course where it's HTML, CSS, PHP, MySQL, do a whole package. And then it made a lot more sense.
Right. Yeah.
And everything. And it was like, okay, cool. And sort of doing the practice sort of apps was great. And it was a real sort of, I think I can do this.
Yeah, good. Development is, when you're learning, it's very rewarding, because especially web development, because it's very, like, the feedback loop is so quick. You type a couple of things, refresh the page, and off it goes. You can see it. You either did it right or you did it wrong. That's how I got in anyway, because I'm so impatient. So you were focusing on PHP, and did you do any JavaScript and CSS?
Yeah, CSS. JavaScript, my brain struggles a little bit more with. Mm-hmm. So I am planning on doing more studying in JavaScript, because it's just one that seems to, my brain doesn't want to absorb quite so well.
And how many courses did you do?
Well, the next one I did was sort of a Laravel one, which was building like a social app one. Was sort of researching, frameworks was definitely the way forward. And I really liked the way Laravel works. And so that was a good one. I did a Bootstrap one. Quite a few database related ones.
Wow.
Quite a lot.
What was the thing that was driving you through all of these courses? What was the thing that was keeping you going?
Well, it was a mixture of sort of, wanting to get back into work, wanting to be a good role model for my son Lewis and being out working, but also because it's so different from me, because I really struggled academically at school and then went into care work, which, is amazing, but you don't use your brain the same way you do with development. So I was sort of wanting to prove to myself that, I can do this. I know on paper I wouldn't look like a typical developer. But it was a real sort of, I really want to do this for myself.
Good. Yeah. That's really good. May I just probe a little bit? Well, you just mentioned that you use your brain differently when you're a developer versus when you're in care work. Are you able just to sort of shape that a little bit more and define what you meant?
Well, I suppose there are some similarities because you have to problem solve, particularly around wound care management or any of the situations. You sometimes need to think out of the box.
Yeah.
I suppose it's more that development hasn't come naturally to me.
Right. Okay.
So as the care, it just sort of happened as I've had to plan and learn a lot more with development, which in a way has made it more rewarding for me because it has been something that hasn't been natural to me. When I've achieved something, it's like, whoa, and I have a little celebratory dance and everything.
As we all do.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a different challenge.
Yeah. On that point, is there anything that you feel like you can bring over to development from care work? Into patience, right? Yeah.
Yeah, certainly with bugs, and certainly I'm learning that walking away from it sometimes is better than to keep plugging at it. Which would certainly be a case with care work sometimes, that actually it's better to walk away and come back afresh. And everything. And totally feel the same. If I get stuck on something, I will end up feeling quite frustrated, which then doesn't resolve the problem at all because you can't see what's in front of your eyes, which is quite often my case. I definitely think that's a strong one for me, is to think, right, now I'm going to walk away, do something else and come back to it later.
Some really good advice there. So at what point in your learning journey did you feel comfortable to go, okay, I've done all these courses, I've achieved all of this stuff, now let's go for a job? How can you explain to me how that transitioned?
Yeah, I think once I got my skill levels to a place where I thought, right, I need to start actually building some sites now. That's where I got in contact with friends of charities and was like, right, basically, I've been learning to do this. Is there anything I can do to help you out, website wise? Because I thought I need to have a portfolio of some degree before getting a job. So employers could see what I could do. I think I did. I built 3 websites before actually going and applying for jobs. And I wanted to tie it in with when my son was starting school, which was last September. So I sort of had in my head when, a sort of goalpost of when I wanted to start looking for work.
Wow. So, I mean, just to underline this, you were doing all of this whilst looking after your son. I mean, that's just an incredible journey of changing career whilst caring for people. It's nuts. Yeah. Hats off to you. So talk me through your first charity site, because that is super interesting. You did a diabetes detection site for dogs.
Yeah. So
That's
basically what it is, there's a couple of charities out there where they found that dogs are able to detect when type 1 diabetics' blood sugars change.
Right.
So particularly with hypo, so when the blood sugars drop very low, the dogs are able to alert the person or a family member to say, look, something's going on. You need to sort it out. I was fortunate enough to have one myself. And yeah, he absolutely changed my life. But yeah, my friend started up the charity Hypo Hounds. And yeah, fabulous name.
I love it.
And when they first started, she was doing constant record keeping. So she was getting her clients to send in paper copies of their blood glucose levels, and then the alert diaries. And then she was then having to marry both of them together, which obviously took her a long time. So I proposed to her that, why don't I build you a web application so your clients can put all their blood sugars and the alerts all in one place, and then you can have an admin panel where you can go in and look at whoever's reports and yeah, hopefully save her some time. And of course she was totally up for this, and yeah, and it sort of went from there really. So
yeah, wow. So how does a dog detect type 1?
Literally just by smell.
Just by smell.
Their sense of smell is incredible.
Right.
As like an example, I heard that if you dropped a pinprick of blood into a swimming pool, they would be able to smell that droplet of blood.
Wow.
It's that acute.
Wow. Gosh, I didn't know that.
So yeah, it's insane how amazing their noses are.
And then they can tell whether or not you are at a certain threshold.
Mm-hmm.
And then
that's right.
And then what, you record that on your phone or something on the site?
Yeah. So what the person would do is, if the dog alerts, they would do a blood test to check how they were doing. They would then, go onto the website and log time, what they were doing at the time, the blood sugar levels, what the dog did as an alert, any comments. But it's also been interesting that they found that the dogs could also pick up in advance before the blood sugar meter when the blood sugars were dropping.
Oh, wow. So it's like an early warning system.
That's it.
Gosh. So I've just realized as we're talking that we've actually gone full circle, because you said that, because you've lost the driving license because of your diabetes, and then you came out of a job, and then you did an office thing, and then that stopped, and then you learnt development, but then you built an app to detect your own. That is amazing. So you've actually built something that has helped your situation. People like you. Yeah,
absolutely. I wanted whatever I was going to be building to be, to make a difference to somebody's life and to make life a bit easier, especially when you've got type 1. There's so many things going on and so many things you need to think about. That actually, if I could just make a quick app where they can just quickly log it, and everything just literally takes seconds. Yeah. And it saves time for both them having to, get everything to the CEO and everything for review. It was just making people's lives easier.
Wow. That must have been really rewarding to do. A big sense of achievement. Yeah. That's
especially when, I sort of go on and I can see, this person's using it every day and using it properly and everything.
Yeah. Gosh. I guess with that, there would be a high level of JavaScript and PHP involved in that?
PHP. It was all pretty much PHP. Yeah. So I now use Laravel Forge for deployment, but my first site, I configured all the server myself, and that took a long time and a lot of stress. And I did whoop very, very loudly when it finally worked.
Good.
So,
Good.
yeah, that was definitely, that whole project was a massive sort of confidence boost.
Yeah, a big win.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so that was one of your projects for the portfolio, is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
So can you talk me through the process then of landing a job? You've got your portfolio, you've built some sites. So what did you do to look for work?
This is another really random story.
Yeah, go for it.
So one morning I was out walking Toby on the forest, and we saw one of our sort of buddy walkers, and she had become a mum and was talking about going back to work, and her husband, talking about it, and I was like, oh, what does he do? And she goes, oh, he's a web developer. And I was like, oh, really? And she goes, yeah, he actually works just sort of across the road. And I was like, oh my goodness. And she says, email the managing director there. He'll be more than happy to give you advice and everything. So do that. So of course I did. So I got home and I looked up the website and I wrote an email to the boss and sort of said, I'm not quite ready yet to start looking for a job, but is there any advice you could give me? And he said the biggest thing is getting out there socially and meeting other developers. So the first one I sort of went to was like a bar camp, sort of coding thing, which was really good. So everyone doing sort of ad hoc talks and meeting other people. So that was really fun. I then sort of got involved with a Women in Web group, which was nice, sort of meeting other female developers and designers. And then more recently, which was how I landed my agency role, I came across through Twitter a local agency that do meetups called Creative X Business. And what they do is they organise meetups for creatives, so the devs and designers and local business people. So it was getting people together to see how they could help each other, really.
Right.
So I went along to that and thought, oh, this is really cool, And then, I was coming up to, Lewis starting school last year, and I was like, maybe I'll drop them an email just to see, if they had any jobs going, and was offered an interview, and got a job, and I was like, oh my goodness me. So that was through sort of networking.
That is such an interesting story, because that is, I guess, what you would class as a non-traditional route into a career, because you're not going through any job boards, you're not talking to any recruiters. First of all, you talk to the MD through an email to ask advice. You were extremely honest by saying that you weren't ready. And we're going to pick that apart in just a second. And then you went to a user group, and then you got in touch with them, and that's very direct. So I applaud your approach.
Unfortunately, agency work wasn't for me. Certainly, being a very new sort of junior developer, knowing the fast pace that agency work was. I just quickly sort of realised, like, I'm not quite sure if I'm quite ready for agency-based work. But again, it was really random getting the job I'm in now, because I wasn't actively looking. And I took my son to the estate where this place is, and he was playing on his scooter and saw saw this company, and I was like, well, what are they all about? And they had a junior Laravel developer role going.
Right.
So, both my jobs in my short career so far have been very, randomly sort of come into my life. So
that's fantastic. That is so inspiring. May I just ask about when you sent your initial email to that first, I think you said it, the managing director of that first company, and you said that you weren't quite ready yet. Can you explain what ready means? How did you get to the point of going, I'm ready now?
I think at that point I was halfway through the partnership diary for the charity. So I knew I was on my way. But my skills weren't quite, I felt my skills weren't quite ready to meet somebody else's expectations. Because obviously with doing my project work, it was only myself that, and everything. So I think it was once I felt I had more of a solid base to my understanding. And I've still got so much more to learn.
We all do.
Everything, which I love. Yeah, absolutely. And so I think it was once I felt confident in myself that I could. It was interesting sort of getting to that point.
So you felt more comfortable with your skills and with the fact that you could actually apply and become in this industry, because it's one thing knowing the skills, and then it's another thing being in the industry and having all the pressure and everything that doesn't come with the Udemy courses. Absolutely. So right now you're a developer. This is your second role, right now. And you're a Laravel junior Laravel dev. What's that like?
No, it's good. It took me a long while to get my head around somebody else's code. Not that it was bad or anything, but just purely that I've just been so used to looking at stuff, knowing where everything is. Just everyone has a slightly different way of doing things. So that's taken a bit, and everything, and getting used to, particularly now being remote working, sort of different sort of communication skills,
right?
And everything, because I was used to. I've also learned that I can be a bit of I'm determined to fix this bug by myself, and I'll Google everything to the hilt, and then still get to I'm still this is it. As I'm learning now that actually to get to a point where I think, right, I've truly got to a point where I can't figure it out, I do need to ask for help. And then and the team are really good in doing that for me and saying, oh well, it's because of this method or this, that and the other, and it'd be like, oh okay, I get it now. So
it takes it for me at least, it took a lot of guts to even acknowledge the fact that I couldn't find the solution and I needed someone else's help, because I always felt like I needed to please. Right. So it was always like, I was fearful for being looked down at for asking a question. And in fact, it's the other way around. If you ask a question, then it shows that you care about the solution.
Absolutely. Definitely.
So can I ask what kind of projects that you do at the moment on Laravel?
At the moment we've got 3 main platforms. So we've got a CRM based platform for account managing. It's all around rentals of co-working space, bookings, meetings, creating invoices, credit notes. I've also been involved with like the onboarding of new clients, right? Cool. Setting up their platforms.
Yeah.
And then altering any of the templates so it's more to their needs, because everybody likes to have slightly different invoices and want different things.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it should be interesting now because of the lockdown that we're obviously not getting the client start like we would do normally, that we can actually start getting into more of doing things with the features and having some more fun time.
Yeah. So can we talk about the any kind of advice that you would give to people who are looking to switch careers into development? Do you have any advice for those people?
I think, yeah, definitely ask advice, even from someone you know. Learn as much as you can. Social, even if it's like Twitter, getting to know people in the dev world. YouTube was another favorite thing for me, was, researching from different, and everyone, like I say, everybody codes slightly differently. So it's, definitely do lots of research with YouTube.
Yeah.
And I think if it's something you really want, then battle it, because it's going to be worth it in the end.
Yeah. If I was to say to your yourself when you were starting carework that you would be a developer and you would build an application that helped dogs detect diabetes, what would you say?
Yeah, I wouldn't believe it. Because, I just, had never had that confidence in my sort of skills on that sort of level. So, I would have been like, no, I'm not clever enough to do anything like that.
Oh, this is such a fascinating story. Are you able to are you able to talk about any kind of things that may have surprised you in development that you didn't expect?
I think a lot of it is the social side of it. I wasn't expecting there to be so many social groups out there for people in development. That was a real surprise when I actually started looking, and that was something I really didn't expect, because it's like working on your computer. I just thought it was literally
I blame the media for that. I really do, because they whenever they've got a program on TV, he's sort of hunched over a screen and he's wearing a black hoodie and he's in a basement.
In a dark room.
In a dark room. Yeah. No, we're quite a sociable bunch sometimes.
Which is lovely, because I am a sociable person and everything. So it's nice to be involved in that sort of side of things, and so I think that was a big pleasant surprise.
Yeah. Throughout this journey, is there anything that you would have done differently if you had to do it again?
I think I would have kept with learning all the raw PHP and stuff first, because there's still some PHP stuff and I'm like, what does that do? Which I'm now learning more now, and everything. So I think I would have, done a full PHP course before moving on to Laravel. So that's a sort of retrospective thing I wish I had done, given myself more of a solid footing. But at least now we're doing the courses now just purely on PHP. It makes a lot more sense because I've already got a broader background to it.
Yeah, it's like I see it like rewatching a film and then realizing little things that you didn't pick up in the first time. You're like, oh that's there because of that. I gotcha. Yeah.
So certainly with my work, they've got another application which is purely PHP, and they were like, oh, it'd be good for you to get to know this. And of course I looked at it and I was like, oh, what is all this?
Mm.
So it's been quite interesting to play with that as well, and get to use some and see pure PHP being used as well, rather than just frameworks all the time.
Where do you think your career is going to go from here? Where would you like it to go?
To be honest, I'm quite happy as I am at the moment.
Excellent.
I think because it's such a big change for me.
Yeah.
And everything. I think I'm quite happy where I am at the moment. And obviously progressing my skills and everything. And certainly want to work more on JavaScript and understanding Vue a lot more. I think you certainly can't get bored in this line of work.
No, it's changing all the time. Wonderful. Well, thank you ever so much, Emily, for spending your time here. Is there anything that you would like to add?
No, I don't think so. Just thank you to you and all the other people that do courses and do YouTube videos to just help inspire us newbies that are coming from a completely different background, because it really makes a difference.
Excellent. I find these conversations absolutely fascinating, because when it boils down to it, it's not about the code, it's about the people behind it, and that everybody has a very different story of how they got into coding. So I found this incredibly fascinating. You've been a fantastic guest. How can people reach you, Emily?
Well, I'm on Twitter. When my son allows me to, be on my phone. He's 5 and likes to nag me. Certainly Twitter is the main one, definitely.
Wonderful. I'll put links to all of these things in the show notes below, as well as to your portfolio, if that's okay.
Yes,
Excellent.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Before we go, there is one question. There is one question that I ask every guest on the show, and it changes every season. And this question is, if you could spend time learning something that isn't coding, what would it be and why?
I think probably body biomechanics, because I'm also really interested. I do a lot of workouts and enjoy doing fitness stuff. So I would really enjoy to understand sort of biomechanics and stuff like that with exercise, especially with my diabetes, because high intensity exercise with the adrenaline makes my blood sugars go high, and strength training makes your blood sugars go low. So it's a real sort of balancing act on so many levels. So I would really like to, if I had the time to study that and understand more why my body responds certain ways to certain exercises.
That's brilliant. Yeah, that question that I ask is such an interesting one, because I can't predict the answer. Biomechanics, you are the first to say biomechanics. That's brilliant.
How about yourself?
Oh gosh. I think I would need to learn how to paint or learn how to draw. It would have to be something where it wasn't on screen, and I could just concentrate creating something nice.
So we've got a little. You want to say hello? No.
Well, Emily, I best let you go. Thank you ever so much for coming on the show. You've been fantastic. It's been very interesting. And I wish you well in the future. Take care. And for those watching on the YouTubes and listening on the podcasts, happy coding, everybody. I'll see you again soon. Cheers. Bye.